Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's your favorite paranormal investigator. My name's Tim Sedano. This is Paranormal Insight, and today we're going to skew just a little bit from the normal paranormal talk. We're not going to dive into a little bit of conspiracy theory. Not something I like to dive into too often. I like facts, or at least as close to facts as we can get, but this intrigued me, and it sparked a lot of debate among the people I shared it with. So before we jump into our guest for today, who is Dayvid from Salinas from Down the Rabbit Hole, and David Don't Know, we'll get to him in just a sec. First, I want to share this with everybody. So let me do a little thing here real quick. Okay. Look at this. And I'll zoom in a little bit so everyone can see it. There we go. Go over here to this guy. Zoom up a little bit. Okay, this is what he had to say.
Script that was posted on 4chan that has 100% accuracy to this exact moment. I'm going to put it on the screen and read off what has happened so far. It's all in chronological order. Israel breaks ceasefire and strikes Iran. Trump responds with B-2 bunker busters on nuclear sites. Iran hits all Gulf oil fields and U.S. bases. Blocks Hormuz. Oil prices skyrocket. Blackouts in Africa and third world countries. U.S. sends 3 aircraft carriers. So what is next on this list is that 2 American aircraft carriers will be sunk by Iran, Russia, and China. Quick break on rain bet. So if you see that happen, I can almost guarantee that the rest of this script will play out. Now I'm going to skip over some of the middle parts and get right to the part where it mentions Turkey leaving NATO and joining the Russia-China-Iran alliance. Why I'm bringing this up is because Turkey's president, Erdogan, has condemned Israel's actions as genocide and has warned against Israeli military strikes in Lebanon and Syria. Erdogan has even referred to Hamas as a liberation movement, while most of NATO leadership recognizes them as terrorists. So the fallout between Israel and Turkey looks like it's coming to fruition. Let's jump to the part where it says 50 to 150 nukes will be used in high atmosphere. This is called a high-altitude electromagnetic pulse, known as HEMP. Its intense gamma radiation collides with air molecules in the denser layers of the atmosphere below. This collision knocks electrons free in a phenomenon known as the Compton effect. So when nukes are detonated in space, the main objective is to trigger an electromagnetic pulse, what you would call an EMP, to instantly cripple an enemy's electronic infrastructure without causing immediate blast casualties or radioactive fallout on the ground. A single high-altitude detonation can generate an EMP covering an entire continent. This makes it a strictly electronic and strategic weapon, rather than a physically destructive one. So you would say goodbye to electric grids, telecommunications, and civilian electronics. Then after 3 weeks of nuclear events, they stage a fake alien invasion, Project Bluebeam. It says by 2027, the one world government will be ushered in after 5 billion people are perished. It claims FEMA camps will classify people as useful or undesirables. And it does look like FEMA camps are being set up in preparation. So with all this being said, relax unless you see 2 of America's aircraft carriers destroyed. That's when we really need to start taking this seriously, because everything up to that point has already happened. There is a work.
Okay. Having put that out there now, and we may take another look at it later. I'm going to take those guys off, that guy off. So scary. Sorry, my mic was down to record the thing. Scary stuff, for sure. But before we get into all that, let's bring our guest in. Dayvid, welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going, Tim? How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good. Thanks for being on with us today. I shared this with you. You said something kind of funny. Do you mind sharing that again?
I believe I said I hope it doesn't happen. Don't want that to happen. But for sure, if they go to desirables, undesirable, I'm probably an undesirable.
I'd probably fall into that camp too. One thing we discovered about this is that it was written about a year ago.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I did not know that fact. You didn't tell me about that one, which is very disturbing.
Yeah, it adds a layer of, dare I say, authenticity to the prediction. Now, he refers to this as a script. So now we're talking about elites. Now we're talking about a I don't know, a conspiracy, a scripted reality. Like they said, World War I was a script.
Right.
World War II was a script. And they keep saying that. All these wars, every single one of them is a script designed to meet a specific goal or goals.
Well, let me tell you, there's a script that I just experienced that I did not like. It came from the Epstein files.
Okay.
It was an email sent to Jeffrey Epstein from I can't recall who, but this was like 10 years ago, and it had the NBA finals winners for the next 10 years.
Oh no.
And I saw this before the finals actually were set. And it had OKC winning last year like they did. Mm-hmm. The last 8 after that, absolutely correct.
Okay.
And then had the New York Knicks winning this year.
Okay.
Yeah, which was very disappointing because I'm a Spurs fan. And I was like, okay,
as you should be.
If this goes wrong, then I know this is not real. But it left me wondering.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah. Well, it's funny. There's this guy who comes out every single year. He says, I have the script for the Super Bowl, and here's how it goes. And he lays out certain key plays and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he's only been right about half the time. But
how are you right 10 years in a row?
I don't know.
I don't know. You know what's funny? I saw the script before the playoffs started.
Okay.
And I thought, no. I honestly, but back then I thought OKC would take it again because they're so good. They had like 64 wins. I mean, they only lost 18 games the whole season. I thought for sure they would take it. I was very surprised that the Spurs beat them. And then I was shocked that New York did what they did.
Well, I think it comes down to a lot of these so-called bad calls or bad plays that don't go unnoticed. Like in football, it seems it happens all the time. That's a foul. That's a clear foul. Why didn't they call it? Or really stupid, obvious mistakes that the players should know better. Like they even overcame something similar to the game before, even the couple of plays before. It's like, what's going on? Why didn't that work? So there's something to be said for the possibility that it is all written out. Okay.
Well, I bring that up because it actually worked out, and now you bring this script up, and you say it's been released a year ago.
Yeah.
And it's been right about how could they know about all this stuff that's already happened, like the Strait being shut down. That was a shock.
Yeah, well, that kind of stands the reason. I mean, you can game some of this out into the future if you take a second to just think about it, really. I mean, think tanks do this all the time. They do. A year ago,
there was no war, Tim. A year ago, we did not have a conflict.
A year ago, well, you remember a year ago we did hit Iran that one time.
The bunker busters. That's correct.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That was 2025.
And we supposedly obliterated their nuclear capacity. That's what we were told.
Yes, that's true. That's what we were told. I mean, that's what CENTCOM said, U.S. Central Command. But there's those saying that, oh no, in reality, while we've done all this damage to their systems, so to speak. Sorry, for lack of a better term, my brain just turned to pudding. They're saying, some are saying, no, it's really Iran who won the war because while the Strait of Hormuz was, I can't say it, the Strait was open, under Navy escort for a while. I don't know if that's still the case because now they're saying it's closed again.
Yeah. Yep.
So it behooves one to look at the dates of some of these reportings, which is why I finally saw that this, I was going to take a crap all over this thing until I saw the date of the posting.
Yeah.
It's like, well, it's easy to see in the past, isn't it? But if the date is accurate and it isn't made up and it doesn't look to be, It's a fascinating thing. And if you can, and think, like I said, think tanks and the government, they game this. I'm ex-military. I know what I'm talking about. They game this stuff out. So if this, then that. A lot of calculations along those lines. Mm-hmm. So it's not hard to see a war or a potential conflict on the horizon. It really isn't. And to come up with this line, this general line of a list of things that could happen. Well, basically, if you start at the beginning of this list, it's you go with that one line. You go, okay, so if this, then that, and just keep checking on down the lines, and you can choose one side or another. It's like, oh, okay, they're going to be good guys about it, and think, or reasonable, or however did you want to look at it. And there's the other, and that's also kind of dives into what the Turkish president was reported as saying. Whether I can't confirm what he said, by the way. But what, at least in this little clip, what he was confirmed as saying is he believes Hamas and those types of organizations, I can't talk, I'm so sorry, are freedom fighters. And initially they did start off as something along those lines, but then they got corrupted. That's my point of view. They got corrupted, they came into power, and I don't see them functioning in a freedom fighter kind of way. Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, the really serious thing about all this is we're looking at unsubstantiated facts, except for stuff we know has happened in the past. And like you said, okay, if it's this event with the aircraft carriers, God forbid, happens, mm-hmm. we'll know that this list has some even more potentiality to be accurate.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've been talking for a bit. What do you have to say about it?
Well, we have, from what I understand, or from what we've been told, we've destroyed Iran's navy.
For the most part, yeah.
But they're able to shut down the strait, which is hilarious. If you can do that without a navy, you've got talent. I gotta give you credit. But,
yeah.
But if I know that there is, and there has been, I've been watching this. China and Russia have been buddying up to each other. Mm-hmm. There's a little bit of Turkey that's always been there. Mm-hmm. That's always been there. They've tried to buddy up with North Korea. I mean, they have a large military as well, and that would be bad. We're talking Red Dawn situation. We're talking
if it came to our shores, yeah. I don't think we'd allow that, to be honest.
Well, if you take what he says, right, and there's a EMP,
yeah.
Then,
okay, you took a few of our, you took out our jets, you took out our tanks, maybe took out our ships too.
You take down electricity in this country. Why wouldn't they come here? Why wouldn't they?
Well, one of the things that was put forth about a decade or two ago was it was maybe 2 decades back. Mm. Russia had just become a more democratic state,
right?
So they say, and they, information was flowing a little more freely, and someone did an interview of a Russian higher up in the military. It says, did you ever have plans to invade America? And he says, well, we had plans, but we knew it would never work. Now, why is that? Because all your citizens are armed. So we don't need electronics for our weapons.
True. But how do you communicate if you don't have electronics? How do you maneuver? How do you get in position? It would be easy. Like you take
it would be easier. I don't know that it would be drones. Easy.
Ukraine has, they're not doing fantastic, but they're doing better than you expect. I thought it would be over by now. I didn't think they had a chance. Mm-hmm. And they're surviving very well against Russia, which is shocking. It should not be. And you're learning again the fact that we've depleted our our missiles and our
Oh,
stockpile.
we're restocked, you know.
Oh yeah, we're restocking. We're in the yeah. Well, that's all we know. But it's it was. I was surprised that we were able to deplete it that quickly.
Yeah, a lot of most of it to counter strikes. Yeah, it was taking out things versus kind of like repelling borders, so to speak. But it was that was impressive. I mean,
Right.
the support craft out there really had. I don't know. I think they overshot because they were sending tomahawk after tomahawk after tomahawk into Iran, and it was like, wow. I don't know if it was AI or not, but it was a really cool shot. I didn't really analyze it, but there was this. I think it was a cargo vessel, and some dude's kind of half hanging off the side. He's rigging a crate or something, one of those big cargo crates, and he comes back in. And he says something, it sounds like in Arabic, and he points. And then, whoosh, this tomahawk just rips right next to the ship, man. And then a whole fleet of others just go right past. It was an interesting shot. Cinematic, to say the least. But it was... so it could have been forced. But, I mean, that's kind of how they work. Anyway. But I think we overshot. I think we should have just said, well, one ought to do it. Send 2 as a backup, maybe. But these guys are sending waves.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
I mean, when you change your department from defense to war, you got to live up to it, I guess.
I guess you do, yeah. But I don't know. When I was in the military, we were taught about conservation of action.
Yeah, what happened to that?
Yeah, I mean...
Brilliant. I like that. But yeah, I'll keep an eye out for those aircraft carriers. That'll be my note to that. And do you think if let's say it goes to that, let's say they do the EMP, let's say Project Bluebeam gets enacted.
Okay, I'm gonna add something to our thing because we have. Oh, no, she's not here. I'm sorry. I thought she'd joined us. I wrote this out to the folks over at 305 Paranormal as well. Shared this video. And Jen came back, and I'll read it to you. Jen came back with a wonderful retort. And I thought it was fantastic. Let me get that up on my thing real quick. Okay. Her thought was, I remembered seeing quickly a post somewhere about fighting nukes in space and something with Space Force having to do with that. Mm-hmm. And that is true to a point. We do have a defense against that scenario. But now I've tried to retrace where I even saw and cannot. So it doesn't surprise me something like that was taken down because I wouldn't have went out there for too long. I do believe that an EMP will always be a possibility, and they have in more recent times dangled that possibility in Hollywood, and they have. Even as far back as the 90s with the show Dark Angel. That's what the whole premise was. An EMP went off and turned Seattle into a third world country. Or a lot of the coast, anyway. So telling you without telling you kind of thing, as she puts it. This is also known as predictive programming. And, if you understand what that means, I won't go to it right now. We can, but I don't want to. As far as a project Bluebeam, I personally think there's too many eyes on that for now, and I happen to agree with this statement. There's too many eyes on them right now for them to play that card, and I believe a part of disclosure now has something to do with that. Great observation. They cannot plan it the way they wanted initially, with it being more known, and we also have these internet sleuths to worry about. So that's what she said.
I don't agree with that at all. I'll say why.
Please.
If you listen to what the guy said, because I've studied this, you're talking 5 billion people gone. How about those 5 billion people that were watching, paying attention? Later, who cares if they're paying attention? It's not going to stop them.
It's a fair point.
Because, you're not going to be able to stop something like that just because you're you're looking at it. That's never stopped the government before. If someone had an idea about something and it was too, let's say, erroneous, and we need to not talk about it, that person's gone. And this has been happening recent. You can see.
I'm just sharing my stuff with everybody.
It seems like it seems to me that a lot of scientists have gone missing or are no longer around.
That's a very fair point.
And this is not something they were like, they had stopped this program. It used to be in the 70s and 80s. If you were trying to get the word out, you're trying to be a whistleblower, you might not survive. And that happened many a time.
Oh yeah.
And they changed somewhere around the 2000s. They decided, let's stop doing this. Let them talk. It doesn't matter. Right.
All right.
Now it looks like we went right back to that old way.
The old way. Yeah.
So they're not worried about you knowing about the project. They're not concerned at all because you're not going to be here. You're not going to be around. Yeah. I mean, I would love for that to be true though. I would love for them to say, no, let's not do it because too many people know about it. Yeah. The 5 billion that are going to be gone. Okay. Sure. They're not worried about that though.
So, and that also goes into, again, I guess technically it's conspiracy theory that the elites want to remove half the population of the planet.
I mean, if you were an elite,
that's one way to do it.
Let's say you're a trillionaire, the first trillionaire, Tim Sedano. Okay,
I'll take that credit.
What? Why would you want homeless people out there? Why would you want poor people out there? They're just taking up your resources. If your mind is greed and that's all you're concerned about, why would you care about anything else? These guys are building bunkers, man. I don't know if you've seen this.
Oh, yes.
They're all building these large underground facilities. Zuckerberg's doing it.
Yep.
Amazon guy is doing it.
Yeah. Bezos.
The billionaire. What's his Musk is
Musk.
He's been boring holes in the ground. He's got a company called the Boring Company. Yeah, dude. Why are they doing it? Why do you think they're doing it? Is it to avoid what's going to happen above ground? Maybe.
I mean, why did people build bunkers back in the 60s? Because they were terrified of nuclear war. Yeah. But, that we had the missiles right up, in Cuba, right off our coast. Yeah. Right. So,
that's what I think. They're not really concerned about us. And that's the problem. Greed. I think greed is the problem. If we could work together and get rid of a money system and just somehow get past that, we might actually survive. We might actually thrive. There's so many new developments happening right now medically. There's a lot of quantum stuff that's happening. There's quantum computing. There's a lot of brilliant things happening right now that if you were to say, for example, I'll give you one. If you make it to 2030, you might be one of the few people that can live for another 150 years because they have figured something out that'll allow you to extend your life.
Is that the mitochondrial readjustment thing?
That's part of it. There's other things like nanobots that can fight diseases for you, keep you young, all that stuff. But in the world we live in now, can you afford that?
Yeah.
No, you will not be able to afford it because it's not going to be cheap. It's going to be for the very, very rich. Those people are going to live 150 plus years or whatever it is. Yeah. And you will not because you don't have the billions of dollars it's going to require just to do that. So, the money is the root of all evil, my friend. And it's a massive problem.
You're talking Star Trek, one of my favorite franchises in the world.
Yes, sir.
Where in that story they eliminated money on Earth.
Right.
And a lot of people called it a socialist society. Rod and Mary fought against that hard and fast till his dying day. He says no, it was democratic. It's all you have to do is you could still vote and all that stuff, and
it's just not capitalist. That's all.
The capitalism leaves the thing. When you do a project, you do it for the betterment of everybody,
right? Which
is a fantastic ideal. I wish it would work that way, but the downside of, I guess, following, and this kind of speaks to what I talked about in last week's program. Eisenhower's warning as he left office: beware the military-industrial complex.
Yeah.
Because everything we make, with the right intention, gets weaponized. And that's what Stephen Bassett, who's the big disclosure guy out there, he says, that's the problem. I don't, if we go to Mars, we're going to weaponize something about going to Mars, that type of thing.
Right.
If we go to the moon, same thing. I was like, well, you have a point. Absolutely. I would like to not only think, but impress upon those empowered to not do that anymore, because, you're not really serving anything. Are we going to have a need for weapons on Mars? You know what? Maybe, and not for the reasons you might think. I'm thinking more like planetary defense against all the asteroids that hit Mars constantly. It's as cratered as the moon. It doesn't have a thick enough atmosphere to deflect all that stuff.
Right.
I mean, look at Valles Marineris. Have you seen the gash in Mars? That's from a planetary oblique strike, and Phobos is that rock. Okay.
Yeah.
So one of their moons, it skipped off the planet and became one of its moons. Just crazy stuff. So, I mean, having weapons in space, again, I'm going to go back to Star Trek. They had phasers and photon torpedoes, not only for offense, but for defense.
Right.
To deflect these things, these disasters and what have you. Mm-hmm. And they proved that a lot. Even the original series, they did that a lot. So it was, and they always maintained we are not strictly a military for military sake. We're explorers, we're scientists, yada, 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 yada.
Right.
So is it a matter of, going back to this list, is it a matter of someone has gamed out the system logically? And I think maybe they have. It seems like they put a lot of thought into it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Did they have an AI write it? It was only a year ago. Very doable.
Absolutely.
And is the AI just happen to be right? It didn't create a bunch of junk. Or did it create a bunch of junk and then this guy edited it out? The more obscure things. And then, but still, he still goes into the nuclear war. Mm-hmm. Also a Star Trek thing, believe it or not. I'm sorry to keep going back to it, but it's amazing.
I love Star Trek.
Who doesn't, man? Anyway, just amazing show. So yeah, they had a nuclear war. Mm-hmm. They rebuilt for the better. And it was, if you are aware of, the plot doesn't matter of First Contact, but it's the staging of the alien invasion that looks a little weird. And, we're seeing more and more stories. I just saw one today on Instagram about this guy who was one of the child soldiers, kind of like 11 from Stranger Things, who was a psionic. There's something called whether he was a super soldier or not, I know he was a psionic. And one of the things he'd do, they give him the pink drink. You've heard about the pink drink? And he'd lay down and he'd focus for a bit, and he was able to fly saucers, spaceships, that are just floating around our atmosphere. Take control of these, because that's how they're controlled, telepathically, according to a lot of reports, including Bob Lazar, who made at least a supposition in that direction. So he said, I would pilot these things around. I'd skim cities and deserts and all that fun stuff. It was great. It was actually kind of fun. And then I come out of it, and we don't know what happened to the ship after that. It just went back on its weird autopilot or whatever. And so there you have it. I'm sorry, I'm kind of been going with a stream of thought here.
No. You're bringing up a lot of. I've heard this a lot now lately, of this controlling the ships. So I interviewed a guy named Rafael Lugo. He goes by Skits the PLK. He's a rapper and a lifetime experiencer.
Oh,
he has a documentary on Amazon. It's called "Calling All Hybrids." So he's it's really good. I was very impressed by it, and when I interviewed him, I was thoroughly impressed with his story. I believe him. You know, there's a lot of times I will listen to someone tell their story and I'm like, I'm not feeling it. But this guy, one of the stories he had to tell was he was abducted, and they showed him this panel. They took him to this series of panels, and they sat him in it, and there were 3 symbols in front of him and a screen, like a very unusual screen. They were essentially showing him how to fly a ship. They were training him, and they took him to this like, I guess like an auditorium of sorts, and they showed him this 3D image of Earth. It was a large image. It was he goes, it was amazing. It was like the most incredible, like it looked like I could touch the Earth itself. It was really amazing. Then there was this light coming from far away, like this big bright thing hits the Earth and it explodes. And then everyone hears in their head, you know, you will have a job to do, essentially is telling them that you will have to. So they were told that everyone in that room, apparently there's a whole bunch of these people, have a ship. There's going to be a coordinate. They're going to send the coordinates to you. You go to the ship and it's going to be powered by your DNA.
Like unlocked or powered?
It will be, you can control it. It's controlled by your DNA.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Supposed to, according to them, you're supposed to get as many humans as you can.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was like, wow, that's nuts, man. And this is not the first time I've heard that these ships are controlled by your mind or your DNA, whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was very, very interesting.
There was the whistleblower, one of the more recent congressional whistleblowers who was, I think they even showed his stuff on, was it Fox? I can't remember now.
Yeah, Fox was talking about the 4 species recently.
Oh yeah, there was that, but I'm talking before that. There was that chopper pilot who did vehicle recovery.
Okay.
And he even had video because he secretly got his phone out and recorded the whole thing.
Wow.
It was pretty impressive. He collected this egg or Tic Tac looking thing that wasn't that big, maybe 10 foot around and maybe another 10, 12, 13 feet long, egg shaped, you know.
Well, what are your thoughts, Tim, if you don't mind me asking, on the idea of, like, say, like Dr. Stephen Greer will say, he believes that the aliens that are here are not here to hurt us, because if they wanted to hurt us, they would have done that easily in a second if they want. They're here to help us.
Yeah.
And you know, the government's kind of not now. It doesn't seem like they're doing it anymore, but they're kind of pushing the idea that they are the enemy and they want to fight us. They want to hurt us. There's all these movies to that effect, right?
Yeah.
To try to prepare us.
Yeah.
For something like Project Bluebeam.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that because just today the story dropped. You recall during the Iran short little Iran war thing we just did, we had an F-15 go down. And the 2 pilots were out there, rescued the pilot and navigator to be picked up separately by Delta Force. Well, reports have finally just surfaced, mostly because of this whole disclosure thing, which is, I think, it, you know, wonderful, personally, even if it's not completely, you know, opening the door all the way, it's opening it a little more, and the report is this F-15 was suddenly set upon by what they called a jellyfish drone. Now, we've heard that term before because Jeremy Corbell released that footage of that jellyfish drone over a desert location somewhere in the Middle East. Mm-hmm. So apparently one of these things just appeared right in front of it. These guys I don't know if they opened fire on it or not. They didn't specify, but the terminology CENTCOM used was shot down. Now, I say with that, I will add this. In the past, especially with American pilots, when they have fired on a UFO, they've been shot at back with their own ammunition.
Oh, wow.
So it catches the bullets, turns them around, and fires them back right at them with tremendous accuracy. Never aims for the pilot, always aims for the craft. which I found interesting. But that's essentially what it sounds like what happened. Now, again, I don't have any proof that there was an exchange of fire per se, but given that CENTCOM says they were shot down, based on that alone, I'm making that assumption. So, but now we have potentially an extraterrestrial incident.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
That's the first spark to this whole aliens are the bad guys thing. And I agree with you. They could have blown us up 150 million times over since whenever. I mean, because the UFO sightings go back
since they dropped us off here, right?
Exactly. And if you take into everything regarded with the ancient alien theory, including Billy Carson's stuff, where he has this whole dynamic, just an incredible narrative about internal conflict. It's like what goes on out there happens down here and vice versa. I mean, there's very little difference between us except technology. As far as people goes, planet to planet. And I've witnessed that for myself. But I'll get into that in a second. But it's if we were planted here, they have every reason to be ticked at us, but they never came back. And now
maybe they never left.
Maybe they never left. Or
go back to Star Trek, right, Tim?
Yeah, sure.
You know how there would be like this rock, and there's like a pre-nuclear society, and then it was like they were watching from that hidden rock. Like
sure.
There is watching. Like there's been many episodes of that. What if they're here? They're disguised, or just like those
a lot of people are saying those weird comets that come through our system are alien craft.
3-Eye Atlas, baby.
3-Eye Atlas and 3-2 and 3-1 too, or 1-2 and 3-Eye Atlas.
I remember that guy.
Right. That was the first one. But that did have a lot of weird shit on it. Oh God, I said a swear word. Oh, I'm gonna get dinged for that. Oh well.
You can just edit it out.
No, not really. I'd have to go. We'd have to start all over.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
That's okay.
I remembered not to because I think
you're a good man. I appreciate that. I set a poor example,
but I think the whole thing. Like for example, those two pilots you were talking about.
Yeah.
How we rescued them, Tim.
Yeah.
Listening to their heartbeats.
Yeah. Right.
From space. That is what.
Which is interesting. I mean,
somebody, I don't know, aliens. I don't know. Do we get the technology?
I mean, it's interesting, that's for sure, because technically in space there is no sound because there's no air molecules to move the sound around. So if you're using, but I put this out there. Satellites have lasers for all kinds of different things, not just for shooting stuff down, but for tracking and navigation and all that.
Right.
If you back in like the 70s and 80s, it was finally released as a public thing. You could use a laser to bounce against a window, going back to a microphone receiver, and you could listen to whoever was in the room because the window was acting as a sound diaphragm, right? So it would pick up the vibrations, and you could hear whatever was going on in that room. You didn't have to bug it; you just aim a laser at it. Mm-hmm. Okay, same idea. You bounce off the atmosphere, the right area, a little frequency adjustment here and there, especially with digital technology being what it is.
Yeah.
And I have no problem believing we could do that from space.
Right. But
using the atmosphere as that membrane. Sorry, go ahead.
Do you have a problem with the fact that in 1947, when we supposedly retrieved a craft, and began working on re-engineering this craft and trying to pull any kind of data, any kind of technology, and there if you think about Eisenhower working with these people trying to get technology, do you think this is my question to you, do you think we would be technologically, do you think we'd be where we are now if that didn't happen, or do you think we would be somewhat in the 50s still trying to chug along, learn, and trying to put things together. Computers, what's that? It's interesting. I don't understand.
I think, you believe it or not, I think one of the entertainment mediums out there, mediums? That's incorrect. But there's a video game called Fallout.
Yeah.
Video game series, and now a television series called Fallout. But
it's great.
Oh yeah, they did a great job putting that together. And it's very true to the game, by the way. But look at the technology they have there. They started in their narrative. The 60s was about this threshold where all this stuff kind of started to take off. Look at their cars. Their cars are nuclear powered. They didn't have gas anymore. Or they did, but it was something different. It was like nuclear fuel or what the hell it was.
Yeah.
And look at their robots. They had robots flying around, and the technology was technically, and they were interactive and really just complex. Like there's a little butler one that has 3 arms and 3 eye stalks, and there's the bigger, beefier robots with the television screen on their tummies, but they kept that weird sensibility of the 50s and 60s and kept it applying it to more modern technology. So I think if we had not had these UFO things, I think we've been kind of in Fallout level of technology.
Really?
Yeah. So all the cars would have fins still, but there would be nuclear powered. it's
I don't know. I think it would be. I think we would be not as advanced as we are now. I think with whatever we've learned from these creatures or whatever they allowed us to, we took it and we made all this other interesting stuff. And because it seems like we are. There's a rule and I can't remember what it's called, but it seems like we are doubling every couple of years, like the amount of knowledge and development and all this stuff. It seems like it's speeding up.
There was someone who pointed that out on a graph very recently. Our knowledge has increased something like 25-fold since even 50 years ago.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. How do we get there? It seems unlikely, to be quite honest, because just 100 years ago we were still in the industrial area. We're still not really doing
gears and springs.
Yeah. I mean,
just short of that,
like
anyway.
Something dumb, like say in the 80s, we actually came up with the electrical vehicle in the 80s.
Oh, we came up with that in the 30s. I can prove it. There's one in my car. There's one in my car. There's one in the museum right next to me.
Well, what I'm saying is we came up with there was a company that came out in the 80s and said,
oh, sure. EV1. Yeah. I know what you're
remember those?
About. Yeah.
And what happened?
They junked them.
The gas industry, the General Motors, all these companies came together and got them out, got rid of them.
Yep.
We could have been doing this years ago. We could have gotten rid of our use on gas. We could have been in a different era. I mean, but that's, I guess it's neither here or there. But what I'm saying is, there have been opportunities, and once again, greed makes its appearance. Shows its ugly face.
I agree with you, at least to a certain point. It had to be kept the EV1 and kept that technology going, and everyone fell in line. The car companies said, "You know what? Great idea. We can get behind this."
Yeah.
I mean, here's the problem. At the time, and this kind of stands right now too. Our infrastructure, electrical grid, can't really support all. If everyone went electric right now, we'd be friggin' hosed. Now, that's not to say that there wouldn't be a plan to upgrade said infrastructure.
We should have upgraded years ago, man.
Oh,
especially here in Texas. Oh my God.
Oh, well, I mean,
especially here in Texas.
Everywhere should have. Even New York. I mean, come on. Talk about infrastructure. I mean, they have stuff run through 200-year-old pipes down there still. I mean, it's insane.
So
but they're not afraid to build. At least they weren't.
Kind of falls in line with that script, doesn't it?
Kind of does. Kind of does.
I hate it.
Yeah, boo. Boo on the script.
I don't want it to happen.
Me either. I mean, not at all. Who wants to experience EMPs? That'd be horrible. But there is a way. There's a way apparently to protect your stuff. You literally put it underground. Like, you'd have to do this every day, though.
Yeah.
You'd have to have a special vault for your computer, like I'm on my laptop right now. Your phone, everything have to go into a copper sleeve of some sort, like a Faraday cage, right?
Yeah.
And every night you got to put it in there, and hopefully it doesn't go off during the day when you're using it, because then you're hosed. But if something is off, there's no current going through it. But with a computer, there's always a little bit of standby power going on. So you're going to have to be careful there. That's why you got to stick your computers in sleeves or have backups. But who's going to do that? My computer cost me $3,000. That was 5 years ago. So who knows, right? So you're going to have to double your purchase just to have a backup of everything, which is not always feasible. Yeah, boo, for sure. Which isn't feasible for everybody.
Right.
So, is there ways to protect your stuff? Yeah, you could, like I said, you could Faraday cage your entire house. Some guy did that I was reading about that the other day. He actually,
Really?
Yeah, he tore out, it's a major operation. He tore out all of his sheetrock. Okay, so he was down to studs. Left everything the way it was as far as electrical and plumbing goes, and then he laid in, I think it was lead sheeting. Like, you can literally get it in like tinfoil sheets, tinfoil, but it's lead. And he lead lined his entire house.
Wow.
And you walk inside, assuming everything's off, zero signal, no EMF whatsoever. So that should protect you. But if things are off, like old school cars are off,
What would be the point? Right?
right?
You protected it. It's great. But now you can't connect to anyone else who didn't protect their stuff.
Yeah,
The grid is down.
you're a beacon in the darkness, and guess what? You're attracting a lot of attention.
Undesirable. You are undesirable now. Easy
For
to
sure.
find.
I'd be curious to know what an EMP would do to magnetic structures, magnetic pieces, if it would neutralize them too.
I got to be honest, when I was hearing him describe how it would happen, how do they know that would work? I don't know that would, you know what I'm saying?
They know. They did tests in the desert for decades.
Who did?
We did.
We've tested an EMP type scenario.
Yeah, well, we recognized, we did underground tests, we did above ground tests, and surface level tests out in the desert. And we did detect all this stuff. Even when we dropped the bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, there was, witnessed on the ground was just an absence of electrical activity since they exploded. And those were just above surface. Those are subsurface, not subsurface, above the surface. So they came in and then boom, they detonated right over the cities. They did not impact them below.
And that that killed all the power?
It killed all the power. It also was close enough to the structures to obliterate them.
Yeah.
Turn people to ashy shadows on the wall, that kind of thing.
I mean, it would destroy the power because you would destroy the grid, I think. But I don't know.
You'd overload it. Yeah, that's what it is.
But to do it at above, like way above,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? I don't know if that would work. And not only that, you're destroying the ozone layer. That's another thing. You're screwing yourself. And if you try to do that, like we wouldn't retaliate.
Well, automatically too.
Yeah.
we wouldn't have anything. I mean, the reaction time would be cut to almost zero in order to stop a retaliation.
Yeah. And so it would have to be, oh my God.
And then you have a war game scenario.
Yeah. Oh my God. They have probably thought of a way to keep us from firing. And if you think about the systems that are in place, they're old, man. The systems are old. They're not upgraded. They're 80s. They're floppy disk systems.
Well, yeah. When they were tearing down, remember we disarmed a lot too.
Yeah.
Especially us and former Soviet Russia disarmed a lot. I was there for that. That was when I was in service. And it's like something on the order of like 2,500 nukes. I was like, did we even have that? Were suddenly taken offline. Whole silo systems and stations were shut down. I mean, it was insane. But they did upgrade the existing ones. I'm aware of that. But again, that was, like you said, 80s, 90s. So they got up to about, I don't know, Windows 11.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So it's scary. I think I would love, let's deactivate all of them. That would be fantastic. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Superman
I was going to yeah. I was going to say Eisenhower and his alien buddies. There were two groups he met with apparently. One were the Nordics, right? And they said, get rid of your nuclear weapons, and we'll give you all, we'll bring up to speed on, get you level with us and our technology. But you got to get rid of your nuclear weapons. Eisenhower said, let me think about that. And meanwhile, this other group, I think they were the tall grays, like the ones, the taller grays.
Right.
And they said, no, you know what? Keep your nukes. We're going to give you like our Model A Ford version of one of our saucers for you to play with. But keep it. It's not a concern to us. And they proved it because the year before, and I don't know if Eisenhower was necessarily privy to this, in 1953, what happens in, where is that, Montana? The Montana nuclear facility where we, or could.
Yeah.
UFO shows up just outside the gate. Big, bright, orange, glowing UFO sits just off the front gate of this base. Pew. All the silos go down.
Yeah. Yep.
They're not worried. They could shut us down like that, even with our modern technology. The same thing happened in Russia. Almost triggered a launch because of all the automatic systems. But it's happened globally.
That guy stopped it. That one guy stopped it.
One guy stopped it, yeah.
Did they do some sort of mental, hey, shut it down? I don't know, man. If you were Eisenhower, which one would you have listened to? Would you have listened?
You see, I thought about that long and hard. He's a war general. Okay, that's his bread and butter for his entire life up until he became president.
Right.
So he's thinking purely strategically. Yeah. And to get rid of a weapon that your enemy has leaves you vulnerable. Okay.
Right.
If you're allowed to keep your weapons and still, so he basically got to have his cake and eat it too until he figured out that they could just neutralize their weapons anyway. So to one race, it was a threat. To another race, it wasn't. So he took, strategically speaking, the better of the two deals. He went with the gray aliens idea.
Strategically, from his point of view, yes. But
from a military perspective, yes.
Here's some food for thought. What if, and of course we don't know this, right? We will never know this. But what if the Nordics said, and we did what they did, what they asked us to do. We got rid of them, and it was not a threat. We were not vulnerable to the Russians or whatever other country, because we would be on their level technology-wise. They would have brought us up to a certain level, or maybe they would do it for everyone, but we wouldn't have to be worried. We'd be protected, because if they can do that, like if the Greys can do what they did to ours, they can definitely do that to the enemies.
Absolutely.
And you think the Nordics could probably do the same?
Well, now what I've heard from multiple sources now is that the Nordics are only about 400 years ahead of us, technologically wise, which is fantastic because they could do interstellar travel.
Yeah.
Among other things. And when it comes to the tall grays, though, they're like 5,000 years ahead of us. So how quickly could the Nordics deploy, say, a force field around America? We just don't know. Yeah. So being from, again, a military strategic aspect, I get why Eisenhower did what he did. And and the direction he went with. Was it the best decision? Honestly, I couldn't say. I understand it, but I don't necessarily know if I would make the exact same decision. I'd have to ask more questions. I mean, there's probably caveats on caveats that would have to be considered. So
that's another question. You think these guys are working together, the Nordics and the Tall Greys?
Apparently they are.
They are, right? That's what I keep hearing. The mantids are there too. They're like hanging out.
Yeah.
In the back, they're like,
like you mentioned, Fox News said there were the 4 species, and actually there's a 5th one called the plasmoids, which are energy-like people.
Wow. I think I've heard them say there's a whole lot more than that. Like, we're talking a Men in Black movie type. There's just a whole bunch of them. And
take Star Trek, Star Wars, and Men in Black, mix them all together, and you're pretty much in the ballpark.
There's a guy who was a Skunk Works guy.
Yeah.
Years ago, he was in charge. He said this recently, and I know you're going to love this. He said that, anything they can do on Star Trek, we already have it. We can do that.
Yeah.
We can already anything on Star Trek that you think, oh wow, we do it already.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing it. We have that. So they got replicators, man. They can zap people back and forth. And
replicators, transporters, warp drive. Apparently, they have it all. And then recently, a private citizen that we all know, Terrence Howard, apparently says he can do the exact same thing. And he has a more efficient way to do it. And that he claims, at least in part, his early patents were stolen by the government, kind of like they did with Tesla. And utilized to a degree.
I gotta admit, when I first heard him talk, I was kind of turned off by a lot of the stuff he was saying. I mean, some of it sounds accurate, but it's crazy coming from this. He's an actor, man.
Well, he was a chemist first, man. I mean, that's something you got to take into consideration as his background. He didn't start out as an actor. He just was really good at it.
Why did he stick with the chemist part?
Yeah.
So is he a good chemist?
He's fantastic. He was breaking down. He was doing. I watched one of his talks, and he had just a marvelous understanding of chemistry and of how various elements interact with each other, and even frequency design, sound frequency. Like, you can take the frequency of beryllium, I think it is, export it through a speaker or some sort of emitter, sonic emitter. And you get the effect of beryllium without having to have beryllium.
Okay.
That's fantastic. Imagine if we could do that with all kinds of metallurgy.
What has he done with all this stuff?
He has developed a lightning gun, which is right out of a video game, that employs the similar tech, and using that technology as a base, he even developed a teleporter. Similar to Star Trek, but it's more instantaneous. There's no sparklies. The only downside is, according to him, and this was on Rogan, I think, he says the only downside is you got to die and then be recreated. That's like, I don't know.
That's basically, that's the science behind it. You have to be destroyed in order to be
recruited. Yeah.
But are you going to be the same guy when you come back? And
well, there's a lot of talk about where, we've seen various photos in the, especially in the paranormal world, where we've seen photos of a soul leaving a body. It's just those wisp of energy, right? Mm-hmm. There's that famous video of the exact same phenomena happening at a medevac. Chopper's about ready to lift off, and we see the soul just kind of whiz away.
Yeah.
So if the soul is energy and it gets teleported through this beam, does it survive? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, because one would say that your soul and or pattern in your brain might be reset. You might have the knowledge and everything, but you're just gonna have to rebuild that. I mean, that's weird. That would freak me out. Like, you wouldn't have that same sense of self.
Yeah, right. I mean, we can't really put that all together, can we, at this point? I don't want to be the first guy to try it. I'll tell you that right now.
Do you have to? Yeah, no, me either. Where are you at with your time, sir?
Pretty close to needing to go because.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I got another hour then without you. That's okay.
Sorry about that. I got to
That's
start
okay.
packing.
Gotta start packing up your stuff. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, join me in giving David a little round of applause. And you know what? I actually have a little gift for you regarding that. So thank you again, Dave, for joining for this discussion.
Let me just, if I could, really quick,
please.
Definitely check out David Don't Know on YouTube and anywhere you get your podcast. My latest episode is with Chucky Danger, and that was that was an awesome episode. He has a lot of very interesting stories to tell.
Yeah.
The episode did really well. It's still going really well, and I have another episode of Deeper Down the Rabbit Hole with David.
Nice.
I'm going to have JJ Rose on. I'm going to have Philip from Chase. What was it called? Chasing Mound Builders, which was really interesting.
Oh, excellent.
You know him?
I know of him. Yes.
I'm going to have the psychic firefighter, Andrew Ratzowitz. This guy is amazing. He is. He read. I've already interviewed him. He read me. He was spot on. This guy is great. He's like going to be the next famous psychic because he does like celebrities and all this stuff. So, and I also have Ronnie LeBlanc on with us. So we're going to be talking about dreams. So that's going to be
all right. Good stuff. So watch it, Down the Rabbit Hole and David Don't Know. Instagram, YouTube, and whatever else. Wherever you get your podcasts, I guess.
Exactly.
Fantastic. David, thanks again for being on the show.
Thank you, Tim. Appreciate it.
No problem. We'll see you in next time.
All right, brother.
All right, see you in a bit.
Bye-bye.
We'll be right back after these messages. As soon as I can find the button. This is the United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans and 105.3 in the Gulf Coast. UPRN talkradio.com. Esoteric programming at its finest.
Long ago in the ancient world, the Trebus Omnes Lux, later known as the Tridents, were celebrated heroes, defenders of humanity against unspeakable monsters. Today, they continue that sacred duty in secret, hunting the dark evils that lurk just beyond the shadows. They are the Trident of Light.
Introducing Story TV, enabling true creative freedom for independent creators. Search an ever-growing library of fantastic festival winners, including Blaney Tucker's Ghost and the Monster Hunters of the TOL. Free to enjoy at lower resolutions, pay $5 per month for 1080 and full K presentations to support the artists you enjoy. Your monthly contribution actually goes to the filmmakers themselves. Support independent film. Support Story TV. Check out our Patreon. Get deeper behind-the-scenes insights. Also, tips into being a better paranormal investigator and other fascinating content. Follow us on Instagram at paranormal.insight. Stay informed on upcoming shows, see what paranormal trends we're following, and help us reach 50,000 followers by liking, following, and sharing. Don't forget to follow us on YouTube at paranormal_insight. Click the live tab to see our latest videos. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the show. I'm solo now, and yeah, David had to do his thing. That's okay. Excuse me. So yeah, we dove into conspiracy theory a little bit. This guy had a list, in case you missed it, and we kind of went off on various different things, but that's okay. I like discussing this stuff. Otherwise, I wouldn't have a show. We may get a few more so-called dial-in guests, but I'm not too sure yet. Excuse me. So let's consider for a moment. Sorry, my lamp is creaking over here. Let's consider for a moment, diving back to what David mentioned most recently, that we, the decision that Eisenhower purportedly, mind you, we don't have. That's not the UFO files. Where's that document? Because if you admit UFOs, I think you have to admit aliens, interdimensional or otherwise. I mean, right? Anyway, I digress on that point. Kind of. When you have a decision like Eisenhower had to make, again, purportedly, we don't have any confirmation of this really. Other than a few people who came out I mean, it's a lot of folks though, a lot of high level people too. Some deathbed confessions from former Secret Service agents. I think there's an FBI whistleblower and a document leak to this effect. And a few other things that were put out there to kind of create the various puzzle pieces of that story. And I think it's 53 or 54 now. 54. He goes missing for 2 weeks. And the press notices this, and they say, where's President Eisenhower? Where's President Eisenhower? And then it comes back. It took him 2 weeks to get a chipped tooth fixed. The reality is that he was, again, purportedly taken to Travis Air Force Base, where he would meet with 2 different factions of alien creatures. One faction, the first faction apparently, according to stories told regarding this. I should say testimony, because these guys swore affidavits and stuff like that, so... The Nordics, the tall Scandinavian-looking humanoids that look very much like us, except for every single one of them that we've seen so far are relatively Scandinavian. I couldn't speak as to why that might be the case. You'd think there'd be... If we have a level of diversity here on this planet, I would imagine there'd be similar diversity out in the world, but... if you're a spacefaring culture, maybe you adapt. You're not as reliant on sunlight, so on and so forth. So you become lighter skinned, lighter haired, yada, yada, yada. That's just a guess. Albeit a rather educated guess, if I do say so myself. But going on, the Nordics appeal to the president. They say, hey, and I'm repeating information here, that just in case you're just joining us in the second half. They say, hey, we're more than happy to help you out. We've seen you pretty much been at war with each other, and we're here to, help you out. Here's the caveat. At least the one that gets mentioned, the one that really stands out, I guess. The Nordics, again, purportedly say, turn off your nukes, disarm completely. And now whether that's just America or the entire world, I couldn't speak to that. Do that, and we will get you up to speed with us. And, you get to join the Galactic Federation or whatever it is. And then... I guess he says, well, give me a minute. There's another group of people coming in, and I'm going to hear their offer. And apparently there's a warning that goes out. It's like, listen, these guys are not necessarily trustworthy. So if you do fall in with them, be aware. So that's a warning that was given to him. He meets with the second group, apparently the Tall Grays. Now, these aren't the little guys. As the name might indicate, they're taller. They're like 7 foot or something like that. They're tall. And they got the big heads and the big eyes and the slender bodies and the whole thing. Both are telepathic. both species are, again, reportedly telepathic. And they make a similar offer. Says, listen, you have, quid pro quo. We'll give you some tech, let you develop it. And we'll see how you do with it. Maybe we can lend a hand with some of your lesser technologies, computers and stuff like that, as it would turn out. Apparently. And we'll give you, one of our craft to toy with, to disassemble or reverse engineer or whatever it is we wanted to do with it. So here's the thing. They want to be able to experiment on us, humans. And no offer, no caveat that says disarm. And this didn't come up in my discussion with David because we were kind of moving fast. But it's when Eisenhower says, yes, I understand his military thinking. He says, okay, what experiment on a couple of humans? How many? Oh, I don't know, a few hundred. Globally? Yeah. Sure. Go ahead, I guess. And that's a deal he takes. Now, he gets a saucer out of it, or a ship, or whatever. A piece of their technology, likely an older piece, like a Model A version of what they have now. And for those of you who are car people, a Model A Ford is what I'm referring to, the more popular first cars in America. So he says yes to that deal because he's not being told to dismantle the only threat, and that's all it really is. I mean, realistically, because as we talked about last hour, if things go off, God forbid they don't. I mean, I'm serious about that one. God forbid they don't. We could have a war game situation for real. And we all saw what that looked like. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's an 80s movie. It's called War Games. Matthew Broderick is the star. And they have Dabney Coleman's in there too. And it's fantastic. I think Allie... No. Lauder's mother? I can't remember now. But it was like her first film. It was great. She's one of the Brat Pack and all that stuff. Anywho, so Eisenhower says yes to testing on people. We get a saucer, don't have to disarm, and lose the quid pro quo we have with at the time the Soviet Union, among other like-minded countries, I will say. So we take that deal, and I think it gets proven to him. I'm starting to question my timeline. I thought it was 53 that the nukes got shut down, but it may have been 56 when that happened. So no wonder they don't care if we have nukes, because they could just shut them off. And maybe the Nordics didn't have the technology to really pull that off, per se. Especially given the generational gaps. 400 years ahead of us versus 5,000 years ahead of us, technologically speaking. And from not even, I think the Greys might be from our galaxy, like literally opposite from where we are. Because we're at the outer edge, part of the Sagittarian absorption. Sagittarian galaxy's been more or less mostly, I could be wrong about that, or it's just starting to be absorbed. So we're a little baby galaxy getting absorbed by the Milky Way. Just so you know. We're probably about 50% of the way of absorption there, if it matters to you whatsoever. But going into, sorry, let me backtrack to my original point. So Eisenhower says, yes, People start getting abducted more. There's a huge flap in the 50s. Huge flap in the 50s. Not just abductions, but saucer sightings and all that fun stuff. And the first UFO dump actually shows that rather clearly. Because at first they focus on American stuff, but then foreign stuff starts coming in, like, oh, it's global. Okay. And this is really the first time anyone's really talking about it. And then we have, let's see. Then we have the Betty and Barney Hill incident in 1961. The first major, fully investigated UFO abduction case. This is not the first one, mind you, but it is the most popular one because they tell everyone everything. They are desperate for answers, and they are so popular with such a spotlight on them. There's really no maneuvering for the federal side of things, per se. They talk to them. I think they suggest they calm things down because they're just going to get inundated. And I think there was even a discrediting program initiated against them, but I don't think it took effect. Not really. Not when they have so much notoriety. They're appearing on every major interview talk show on radio, television, and I think they're even featured. James Earl Jones playing Barney in the motion picture version of their story, which wasn't told very well in the 70s. So I say that because, I don't know, there was a lot of details missing. They kind of glossed over certain details. But not only is their story there, but there's physical evidence to back up everything, including Betty's dress. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, look up Betty Hill's dress from 1961 or 61 or 62, because these abductions happened over a course of time, and Betty's dress has some very, very strange burns, cuts, and tears in the dress that are tantamount to her being burned without anything else catching fire. Like there's almost like it was hit with a laser beam, so the edges were, burned, charred, but nothing else happened. So it's like, what does this do? Why do you have stitches, in your clothing? That type of thing. I'm speculating at this point as far as the interest in dismantling this poor woman's dress. But the level of details remembered, like, for example, the Palladian star cluster. 7 or 8 stars in that cluster. At the time of Betty's sighting and her reporting of this map she saw on the, I think they both called them visitors. Well, that was Betty's interpretation. Barney was not enamored of these creatures whatsoever. And if you ever heard his tapes, he's screaming terrified. I mean, a big, tough, I think it was a Marine who was now mail carrier or something like that, just tough as nails guy, screaming and wailing and carrying on like a lost child. It was disturbing and terrifying, and dare I say, I wouldn't say pathetic, but for him to collapse like that, it was shocking. Not pathetic, shocking. And, man, I can only imagine his fear. up until that point, didn't have a description of what an alien being might look like. A gray, according to them. Although their gray was a little different. The eyes weren't quite as large. They were a little bit smaller. Could be an offshoot species or who knows what. Pardon me. There's also, again, the myriad of physical evidence is just insane. I was talking about the Pleiades star cluster. We didn't know what the heck that looked like in its entirety at the time. Official observations, or even unofficial observations, only saw the brighter stars, and there was like 4, maybe 5 that we could see. It took, I think, something on the order of 10 to 15 years to verify. Pardon me. We'll gurgle there. To verify Betty's findings. A complete amateur who had zero to do with astronomy whatsoever correctly identified how many stars were in a given cluster. From the perspective of Earth. That's what was shown. And it was linked with these strange lines, which meant something. I don't know if they were pathways to and fro each star system, or... oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Need me some coffee. You'll excuse me. And that's the last of it. But, I mean... wow. So... Eisenhower's out of office by 61, obviously, but you will recall, beware the military-industrial complex. And when he was asked about that later on, he always said, well, it wasn't a coded message or anything. I beware the military-industrial complex. It's not that hard. And now, this is also... at the start, I think just after, or at the very, very, very end of his administration is when the military-industrial complex really comes into play. About that time, we're talking, when did he leave office? 54? You leave office in 58? Or is my math off? Let's assume I'm right. Probably not, but let's assume I'm right. About that time, was he a 2-term president? Oh, I think he was. But again, I'm not too positive. At the very end, or at the very beginning of his... at the very end or just after the very end of his presidency, the first vestiges of DARPA and other such programs come into being, which I find very fascinating. Now, not exclusively. There's other projects happening earlier than that. Joe Montaldo has been on this show and has repeatedly said that the Roswell crash... that was a cheese stick thing. I don't know why I'm telling you that. That was the noise. The Roswell crash was, in actuality, a test flight with humans on board, aliens supervising, gone horribly awry. And it was likely less than a lightning strike hit, although I talked about this before. If you have amateurs running it and they didn't activate a switch because they're interfacing with these panels, right? And just touching them, linking their brains through their nervous system to the computer on the ship. And they didn't activate the one little toggle that says lightning shield or whatever. I'm making up names now. Some sort of deflector that would keep a lightning strike from doing any damage. It does get hit. Or it's just a bad flight and something goes cockeyed and they're screaming little monkey human minds can't comprehend what they're doing. And perhaps, again, this is pure supposition. This is just basic. Me just kind of lining up, drawing some lines between dots. If there were, there were 2 craft that went down that night. We know this for certain. Multiple reports at almost exact same time here in Aurora. I think that's Colorado. Don't quote me on that. It could be another state. Maybe it's I can't remember now. I want to say it's Colorado though. Aurora, Colorado. Gosh, someone check me on that. And if I'm wrong, put the right answer in the comments if you please. So 2 craft go down. We know about Roswell. Joe Montaldo maintains that this was the escape pod of the ship, which kind of makes sense. Skips down, goes bad, crashes, fire explosion, bodies recovered. Everything else recovered. The skin is, it's smart metal that we have today in our glasses. This is smart metal on my glasses. But that took 40, 50 years to come to the public too, but we had it in the military way earlier. Anyway, not only are alien bodies recovered, but human bodies are recovered at Roswell. Further up the line, not everyone made it into the escape pod, possibly because laying next to the second part of this craft, discovered by, I think, a Boy Scout troop. Hey, Scoutmaster, what are these? And what's that big smoking hulk of iron over there? Oh, man. And they discovered bodies that were perfectly, apparently, laid out next to each other. And they each looked like they had been melted. And only one of them wasn't human. So, it looks like the crew got split. 2 stayed behind to stabilize. Maybe human joined them. Because, who knows why. He was the commander, maybe. We don't have the details on that. Where's that, the UFO files? Come on. If you're going to dump. Put it all out there. These controlled little things are just frustrating beyond all end. And I don't think, you dump this much. You haven't caused panic in the streets yet. I think we're safe. I don't think the human being, as it stands right now, is going to freak out and go riotous on you just because you didn't tell everyone about the truth about UFOs and aliens. P.S. Put the aliens in the files. Come on. Okay, I'm done being mad. At least I hope I am. Last week was aggravating to say the least. But here we go yet again. Okay, so Eisenhower does his thing. He leaves office. He leaves everything in the best hands he can, I suppose. But I think he knows that he has probably opened the weirdest and biggest can of worms ever. Beware the military-industrial complex is his final words. And with that, we get all kinds of fun stuff. If the memo, something like 8 to 10 page memo I read on the air. Thanks for sticking around for that, by the way. It clearly, there's no if about it. It clearly says what their plan was. Okay, if this crops up in the future, got to deny it a little bit, really kind of make them question what they saw. Was it really swamp gas projecting the shadow of Venus, or whatever that is, that weird excuse? Was it thermal inversion, possibly? Yeah. Anyway, yeah, it's wow. It's such, the whole thing is such that I don't know. I guess my biggest question is, do the puppet strings stop with the so-called elites? Big question. Lots of things to consider. A lot of folks have answers on it, or think they have answers on it. Are we looking at Therefore, okay, let's say that's the case. We can suppose that if there are, maybe, and some of the people have said this, so-called experts, certainly more expert than me, I guess you can say. I'm just a podcast host. I have a background. I have a knowledge base. I am what you might consider better educated than most in the subject of the esoteric or the esoteric subjects. Am I the smartest person in the world regarding that? No, probably not. Likely not. But it's an interesting question, isn't it? If the elites, I put in soft quotes, aren't the ones pulling the strings, and they too are being controlled, as some have posited, including David in his own way in the last segment, have they always been here? These benefactors, or dare I say, creators of the human race, the modern human race, I guess. I don't know. Have we always been manipulated? That, my friend, is a very interesting question to ponder. My friends. I have lots of friends out there. It's fantastic. Thank you again for joining the show. But let's take a look at something. Bear with me just a second. So, I want to take a look at a few pieces that I just recently discovered on the net. One is from a Hollywood producer who has a unique experience and has heard equally unique stories. So let me get him up here on the in the queue, as it were, and I'll have a little listen to this individual. Yeah, so you're going to see some other stuff in the background. Don't worry about that. Yeah. And forgive me, I don't know who this is. Okay, Brent Friedman. He visited Orcas Island. And we're going to zoom in on him a little bit here. And have a quick, are we up here? Is the volume up? Volume is up. So, I'll bring the mic down so you can hear what's going on. Get rid of these guys real quick.
Because you mentioned this before.
Sorry. Helps to show you the actual thing. Here we go.
We started rolling. You also saw a Nordic alien?
I did.
Where did you see a Nordic alien?
On Orcas Island.
Okay.
I was visiting a friend there. I'll keep this one short. I was visiting a friend there, and I woke up the next morning after we were talking about a bunch of stuff, and he'd gone down to the store, which is quite a ways away from his property, to get some food. And so I'm like, oh, it's a beautiful day. I'm going to take a walk on his property. He had like 20 acres in the woods. So I start walking, and I come over this ridge, and there'd been no one out. And all of a sudden, there's this person who literally looks like a male model, like a Scandinavian male model with kind of longish blonde hair in a weird kind of more like European clothes, whatever. And they say, hello, Brent. Like they're about 20 feet, a little bit further down the hill. And I'm thinking, okay, I did not see his mouth move. First of all, how's he know my name? Secondly, I did not see his mouth move. And I was like, hello. And he said, turn around and walk the other way. And mouth's not moving. And he's not looking threatening. And I kind of was like, got it, on it. Turn and I walk away. And now I'm getting a little bit freaked out. I get a ways down and I look back and he's not there anymore.
Was he tall, blonde?
Yes. No, he was further down the hill. So I didn't have a chance to like look him in the eye. And like, I'm 6'4", so I didn't have a chance to look at him and say, oh, this guy's 7'2" or whatever. But he was well put together, like a specimen, like an absolute specimen. So I asked, my friend comes back and I say, okay, I just had a really weird experience. He goes, oh, with one of those tall white people? I'm like, what do you know about them? And he goes, they have a compound on the Orcas Island. And he said, there's a lot of weird people that have compounds here because there's weird energy that comes like every couple, months. And they come in a black helicopter, unmarked, to a facility that's all gated. And there's about 8 of them. And they come here and they stay here for a couple days at a time, apparently when this energy is really high, and they get recharged.
Whoa.
And I'm like, have you ever met them? And he goes, no, they don't. They're very select in who they meet. He goes, there's a story about a number of years ago. One of them came down into one of the pubs, right, and just walked through the door one day and said, I want to have a drink. And everyone's like, who are you? And he's like, I live up the way. And they're like, okay, cool. And he's like, so what's it like to live here? And they're like, on Orcas? And he goes, no, on Earth.
What?
Yeah. And everyone's like, okay, dude, what is going on here? And then he had a couple drinks and people had to like get him outside. And he's like, no, it's okay. I'll walk home, and then he left. And so
I have to ask you.
Okay.
Because you mentioned.
That's a great story, I have to admit. So this is interesting, to say the least, and I kind of think it answers a lot of questions that I was asking previously. The fact that these... Sorry, let me get the mic back in the proper position. The fact that these beings, the Nordics, are here is interesting to me. So the story goes beyond what he was saying. Actually, I've had some guests on here that speak to this. Apparently, the Tall Greys and the Nordics weren't really getting along per se, but eventually they united, and now they're part of a larger galactic federation. We've all heard that term, and I don't mean science fiction necessarily. But the Galactic Federation is pretty much not unlike Star Trek, except I don't think there is a home base per se, although it may be. Well, I can't even speculate, but all these various species are of a mind to, apparently, because I guess we're liked enough, have potential enough to be protected, even from ourselves. And that should this EMP thing happen as predicted in this list, whether it will be allowed or not is certainly questionable, because if you have a species that can just hover outside the gate and shut down an entire nuclear launch facility at whim, whole EMP thing won't happen. But they could be just waiting to see how far we get without their help, if not that far at all. And then there's the other side of things. The guest Dayvid interviewed that said, well, I was trying to fly these things as a kid, and my goal is to, I know where the saucer is, to one degree or another, or I will be told where the saucer is. I say saucer is a generic term, the ship, a ship, and my goal is to round up as many humans as I can prior to a stellar impact of some sort. And now, something tells me that, again, you have to take a lot of things into consideration, but something tells me if he's of an age and he's been trained, as it were, as he, one, has experienced or I don't know, imagined. It sounds a little too detailed. 3D technology now. So sorry. And how it was. Anyway, the visuals sound real enough to me. So this could be happening within that gentleman's lifetime. I'd be curious to know how old he is. But if he's a rapper, or at least I have never heard of him personally. I'm not that much of a follower of rap. I stopped following rap with the Beastie Boys and Run DMC were popular, so that probably gives you an idea. I guess it just went dark after that, but I digress. The so if that gentleman has that job, okay, and there are alien compounds where certain energy fields crop up every once in a while, run by not only Nordics, but other alien creatures who apparently are telepathic. What does that mean for us? Have we been told everything? Is this Apophis asteroid going to really be the end of us after all? Because they say, oh, it's going to miss us. They've been saying for years it's a for sure impact, and suddenly it's going to miss us as it gets closer. God, I hope so. But maybe near misses are enough to do damage. Apparently, some couple 100,000 years ago, or I'm sorry, that's probably a misnomer. Complete mistake, rather. But, a few thousand years ago, maybe, we've all heard of the Great Flood. Whether it's Noah's story or other stories that match that almost exactly across the globe. Taking on select guests, picking up all the animals you can, saving them, seeds too. One of them said, you gotta bring these seeds and fruits with you. And vegetable, all kinds of provisions to rebuild after things go away, or washed away by the flood. So again, that's a global thing. Every society on Earth from that era has that story to one degree or another, which is amazing. Let's consider from an astronomy, not astrology, astronomy perspective. If you look at the Pacific Ocean, we have a similar gouge, not unlike Mars, and it could have been whatever hit Mars took the brunt. Mars took the brunt of it, left a little piece of it behind, and kept trucking toward Earth and grazed us as well, because the Pacific Ocean has this perfect bowl groove that goes right from, the southernmost, not the southernmost, but like around the Philippines area. If you take that latitude along the Philippines, you go right in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, there's a groove that goes right up until about between the tropics of Capricorn and Cancer, roughly. And you can see it on Google Maps. If you look at it at the right angle, it's a bowl groove. It's like someone took a wood groove and just hammered it out. And it's ancient. And if a near miss like that can simply whoosh, do that to the planet and cause all the waters and oceans and everything to whoosh, slosh over the land, which is what they describe, as scientists describe nowadays. I don't see why a similar, whether it's a direct impact or a near miss, would do any less damage. It's possible, but excuse me. So maybe that's it. A nouveau, pardon my horrible French, arc or arcs, because apparently multiple children according to David's guest, have this ability to access these waiting lifeboats, as it were. And we have aliens using, modern technology, helicopters. Really? They need helicopters when just in their saucers? Maybe saucers are too obvious. Who knows? But we We can only listen to stories. We have no real confirmation. I think that's really where I want the UFO files to go quickly, is that confirmation of these alien beings, not just a whistleblower, who I may or may not believe, who certainly has the ear of at least some of Congress, as they lay down their stories. And, you know, where's this so-called shadow government? I mean, if they're a shadow government, obviously they wouldn't have any real representatives as a public face, because what's the point? But again, this whole shadow government thing and all the rest of it is supposition. We only have bits and pieces. And as David pointed out, another whistleblower. I'm starting to hate that term because it's because you hear it too much. The said whistleblower said, "Oh, you know, for decades, if you've seen it on Star Trek, we have it," which falls in line with the secret space program and the various stories I've told you on this very podcast regarding such ships. The Vandenberg ship that had a cloaking field up. The that's the only one that comes to mind now. I've told you others. But we've seen what apparently are Earth ships cruising across the surface of the moon in a very small fleet. And some of them were bigger, and some of them looked like little escort ships, and they were flying in a surprisingly naval flotilla positioning. You know, okay, Army guys and Marine guys, you're going to know what it is to march in echelon position. Okay, same idea. They do that in the Navy too, where they position their ships in certain formations. Formations, that's the word, formation. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, they're flying along in a Navy escort formation. It's just a pretty fascinating stuff. If I can find that video one of these days, I'll definitely put it up there. Put it up here for next time. So let's take a look at something else that kind of speaks to this exact thing. I don't know who's speaking per se, but it's relatively recent. They're talking about, well, here, I'll just let you watch it. Come on. There we go. Oh, that's not the one. That's not the one at all. I hit the wrong button again. There we go. That'll work. So let me play this one right here.
Mind. And what he said that happened with Trump, you know, and I'll just tell you this, and just again, I don't know that, I want to preface this by saying, this is not what I believe, this is what I've been told, okay? He said that the Nordic people or the Nordic aliens are like a few hundred years more advanced than that. They're not super advanced. They're not like, he said, the Greys, whatever is sending the Greys is extremely advanced, like thousands and thousands of years more advanced than us, because it's doing all the anti-gravity stuff, all the crazy, all this crazy stuff that's very highly advanced. And a lot of it is what he says with the Greys is psionic. So they basically don't have physical interfaces. They're using their mind, and that there's an interface that picks up thought, and then that and that's how they operate these vehicles, is out of psionic. But the Nordic people somewhat resemble humans, and they have been experimenting with crossbreeding with humans. And he says some of them, that there are aliens that are crossbreeds living in the world. And I asked him, I go, okay, do they know that they're a crossbreed? Or do they, like, how would you know that they are a crossbreed? And he didn't have an answer for that. Like, he didn't know if they knew what, but he said that the briefings he's had describe, talked about them. And he said when Trump was briefed on this topic, because Trump finally had a briefing and he was in the middle of impeachment, like he was in the middle of being impeached. So he's going through that. And then he had like this existential briefing that just kind of rocked his worldview.
Interesting.
This is what blew.
Okay, so we'll shut them down for a second. Very fascinating. Very fascinating. I'd seen this clip before, and I brought it to your attention because it was relevant. I didn't know about that last part. Somehow it had regarding Trump and his impeachment and his worldview being changed by it. And him getting his briefing during his impeachment, I assume first term. But there we have it. Someone being told, and again, we're getting this second, third hand, because he got it from someone else who I think. So anyway, you understand what second and third hand is. I don't have to explain it to you. Isn't that great? But here we have kind of backing up what I was told, and not only by by previous guests, but my own research, that the Nordics are only so far ahead of us, but they're also close enough to us to breed with us, humans, which is interesting. Not sure where I land with that. Although I'm a Star Trek fan, so I guess I'm okay with it. Gosh, that really does trouble me a little bit. So there's also that side of things to consider. We've heard about the hybrid programs in the past. And the story was such with the Greys especially, apparently, the story goes that they are a clone race. And we've heard this story before. It was on Stargate, when the Asgard Grey aliens had the exact same story. We're clones of clones of clones of clones. We can transfer our consciousnesses between bodies. And they proved to be super advanced, although not too terribly advanced. They had teleporter and light speed or faster than light speed and all kinds of great technology, although it didn't always serve them so well. In fact, they were the root of their own destruction with the replicators. I digress, though. Bit of a Stargate fan, in case you missed it. But to say that the Nordics are breeding with us, which is, again, okay, we might get some models out of it, but other than that, I'm not too sure. Then there's as I said before, the Greys apparently are thousands of years ahead of us. And whether they have that breeding issue, I really don't know. We've heard about the hybrid program from them as well, that they're trying to reinvigorate their race, and that's why they're here. And it's sad, and it's quasi-pathetic, and they need our help. And then there's some who say, oh, that's complete snow job, as they used to say. And do not believe it. That is wool over the eyes. Do not believe it. And then the same thing goes the other way around. So, again, we are left with more questions than answers. This is why I want a complete confirmation dump. Who's who? What's the political structure? We have Elaine Danan, for example, the French experiencer, who has, as she describes, a chip in her head that allows her to openly communicate with I'm looking at my screen. The Nordics, or a Nordic type, or the Nordic types, directly. because during a botched operation of one sort or another, I guess putting that implant in, they stopped a more nefarious alien race from using her, weren't able to remove the chip, but were able to reprogram it. So now it's an open communication device. She considers herself as one of the Galactic Council, Galactic Federation. And she actually has a map, and I wish I had... Well, let me see if I can find it. Give me just a second. Yes, here it is. The map. This is fascinating. It's a map of the galaxy, various star systems, star clusters, as viewable from Earth, and she has them kind of... There's like 4 different little... 4 factions, well, I guess, and one of them is Galactic Federation. I can't remember which, though. But we can look at it together in these final few minutes. Let me show you. So, looks kind of small. We'll go over here to the legend real quick. It's in French. Here is the Galactic Federation symbol. It's an eyeball. I don't know why. Maybe the great creator. Who knows? But there's all these, I don't know, planets in one sphere, so all in one kind of a thing. Then there's, oh gosh, gray species, greens, grays, like the grand grays, the petite grays. Okay, so these are the tall grays. These are the short grays. Conseil de Cinq. I'm not sure what that is. And the Empire Si Kahar, or the Si Kahar Empire. I'm probably horribly mispronouncing that, but she has all kinds of things. So an X-Files there, a metamorph, comes apparently from Telescopium, the X1Z star system. Look at all these. She drew these all up too, and some of them are right out. There's the insectoids, or mantis guys, and she has seen these things via her implant because they share things with her apparently. Some of the starships they come with are associated with. We've seen these guys, and apparently they're from Beta Antera. Or Atria. Gosh, I can't read. And then there's... we have our Nordic guys around here somewhere. Let's go with Daru. You notice they all have that bridge, too? That weird bridge. It kind of reminds me of the tall whites I saw. They had that, too. I didn't see the eyes because they had sunglasses on, but... I don't know. It's interesting. There's no line to them. I also want you to point out this. I've pointed this out before. But look at all the star systems they're from. And I mean, this is from our perspective. Not everyone's great. Like, here's a tall gray guy. Not the best thing in the world. At least according to her. Now, here's something interesting. I showed this map to... Here's a tall, a Nordic guy. I showed this map and the various creatures here to Joe Montaldo. Now, what makes Joe an expert? Well, for starters, his intelligence work and all that fun stuff. And he said something interesting. He says, I think it might be disinformation because as far as I'm concerned, or as far as I know, at least according to the abductees I've interviewed, and he runs ICAR. It's kind of like MUFON. It's a splinter of MUFON actually, but far more in depth. He says, well, that's according to everything. The reptilians are the ones that are on our side. So who's to say what's going on? Anyway, this has been Paranormal Insight. My name is Tim Sedano. Big thank you to Dayvid Salinas from Down the Rabbit Hole and David Don't Know. And ladies and gentlemen, I will see you next week. You have a great rest of the week. Take care. If you have a paranormal experience that you would like to discuss on the show, please email us at paranormal.insight.podcast@gmail.com. That's paranormal.insight.podcast@gmail.com.